what bothered me most about the movie is the fact that the mentality behind the individuals with authority. So, individual authorities, it was just nothing easy to just, again, like just pick on the buildings. And then let's build our name off of the weak, because we got that power and authority. So that's something that really like was burning up inside of me. There's nothing they can do. When you're undereducated and you don't know, you just don't know. Like, the individuals that was chosen as victims in that situation were undereducated. So it'd be different if the playing field was even, then it'd be a different field.
Right.
Just like, just kind of like bullying in a sense.
What did you think about the movie?
Oh man, it was hard to watch, but it was hard to watch because it still happens every day. And it is a reality that we live in.
Right.
And for someone like me, it's not something that I've lived with every second of every day.
Now, when you say someone like you, what do you mean someone like you?
A white woman. I don't like to hear people judging me because of what I look like and stopping me just because of what I look like. I remember when I was younger, actually, I got pulled over, and it was a female police officer that stopped us, and she asked me for my license and registration, and she asked the gentleman with me for his, and I was confused why we got pulled over, and she wasn't giving me a straight answer, and she finally left, and my companion with me, my friend with me, he was just shaking his head, and he was saying anything, and I was railing like, I don't understand this, I was wrong, like, stop, what's happening here, and then she came back and said my tags were expired, and I was like, and she was like, I'm gonna let you go with a warning, and we did that day. And as soon as she walked away, she said, you got pulled over because you were right over the flag and your car.
It's a scary reality, and that is the way that it is, especially in this culture. So the idea of when I myself wanted to have this panel discussion, I reached out to the Delaware Center of Justice, people that I know that care, understand.
Welcome to Make Some Intelligent Noise.
So, again, my name is
Rasha Wilson. I'm here at the Episcopal Church, and we are having a panel discussion about when they see us.
So tonight we're streaming on Facebook Live. So we're streaming tonight, and tomorrow this will be on Comcast on the 28th. Also, I want to give, I saw Matthew Meyer, County Executive. Thank you for coming, appreciate it. Terry Evelyn Harris, I think I saw you, appreciate you. So, well, we got some awesome people, but we have two amazing people also that we have here with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to hear a little bit later from our fabulous friends who are here with us. Today, Martin Wright, who was actually wrongfully convicted and was the longest survivor of Delaware death row, who shared his story, and also Elmer Daniels, who was just released 6 months and 8 days ago after serving in I am Delaware Center for Justice Victim Offender Mediation Program. Pretty later, we are excited, Delaware Center for Justice partner with Ivan and his team to be able to present this event for you guys tonight, to have these necessary conversations. Because this isn't something that happened a long time ago, it's something that happens every day. It's something that happens now. So we thank you for joining us, and we are excited to have this discussion that is difficult for many, and it often stirs up a lot for all of us. So we want you to be aware of yourselves. If you need to take a break, feel free. Take a moment, deep breaths. Also, this is a house of worship on a regular basis, but we do have permission from the clergy here that if you need to say some words that you usually feel uncomfortable saying in church, that is okay too. Because sometimes this topic means that we've got to drop some words we wouldn't usually drop.
Drop it if you want to drag on me.
So please feel free to be yourselves, be open. This could be awesome. And we don't want that. So we thank you guys for coming. This is a topic that we wish we didn't have to talk about, but it's a topic necessary to talk about. is the topic that people like me, white women, white people often avoid because it's uncomfortable with. It's something we don't on a daily basis. But we have to talk about it, and we have to show up, and we have to have
I want to get this computer closer.
we are all responsible for what happens in our space. What our tax dollars go to. We also pay tax on it. And so tonight, we're also going to talk about how all of us can work with our legislators to make sure that we put policies in place so that we can, in Delaware, prevent this from happening again and help those that have already happened too. So we're excited for that, and we'll have more information on that as our head goes off. So before we get too much into that, we want to talk about the docu-series that we're all here to kind of unpack tonight a little bit more. Some of us haven't seen it or seen all of it. It was an intense docu-series that most of us have seen, and for those of us who have seen it, know a docu-series about 5 men, young men, 5 children in New York City. The docu-series of wrongful conviction. What is interesting is that could have been any one of us. And so the question that I ask you tonight, and that I want you to carry with you as we go into this evening is, if you were arrested and charged with a crime you didn't commit, how would you prove you were innocent?
A lot of people, the one thing that I found when I watch the movie, a lot of kids don't know their rights. And the only thing that I know as an adult is you got the right to remain silent. That's it.
But as a kid, you have a right to have a parent or guardian present with you during an interrogation.
And then everybody took all that away. So how do you fight against, I guess my question is, how do you fight against a system that's not broken, but is actually designed that way? So that's what we want to get out of tonight.
And Delaware Center for Justice is excited. We're rolling out a Know Your Rights training. In your info packets that you received as you walked in as a card, if you're interested in Know Your Rights training, please fill out that card. And there's a basket on your way out that you can put that card in so that we can be in touch with you to help you organize the Know Your Rights training for your community so that we can educate everyone and so we all know our rights. Because I don't know my rights either. I mean, I didn't know that until recently.
So I think that's one of the bring Marlo right now.
Do you want to do a synopsis of the docu-series?
Yeah, we are. Everyone good with the synopsis. We understand what happened, and now let's go.
All right, Marlo and Elmer, we would love to introduce Jermaine Marlo Wright, our longest Elmer Daniels, our most recently
So gentlemen, tell me a little about yourself. Name, where you from?
My name is Dominic Daniels. I was born and raised
Good right now.
in the city of Wilmington, state of Delaware, to Elmer Brother Senior, Betty Virginia Thomas Daniels. Landmark stroke day, January 15th. An act of rape happened. 2 days later, I was arrested for that, simply by my first name. I spent 39 years in prison for an act of rape. It was so simple, as you had stated here, to simply go to my high school and get my records to prove that. The individual who said they knew me simply proved that they didn't know me at all. We never had a problem. They didn't do that. Fortunately, 35 years, I was released on parole. And I'm back up here for a minute because I'm parole for the system wants you to
admit reality. And in my situation, I always tell people that my father gave me one of the best pieces of advice I've ever carried that for 39 years. And that was, if you know you didn't do something, you said, I could say that this was his one, this was me, or I had something going to say you did. So I said, my foundation, and I was willing to, even though I understood my family dynamic and where I came from. I was a good student, two-parent household, grandparents, great-grandparents. I was privileged to be very privileged. But at the time comes when you're displaced from your family, a sense of distance gets put in between that and relationships. But I was willing to sacrifice that. I hadn't done anything wrong, and I believed at some point someone would hear me. I've encountered relationships with attorneys in this state who tell me, oh, I know about your case, but wasn't willing to give me the assistance to help me in my defense. I learned the law while I was in prison. And I was asked, I think yesterday, what was one of my aspirations to change so much, but I truly believe being in the paralegal field, knowing what I know now, is probably the direction I'm going. I met this young man named Riley, and he and I had a conversation a while back, and I kind of explained to him that I understood it. I saw him because the demographic and ages between 17, 18, 19, 20, 25. So we were taking young black men away from the community. And we were familiar with each other in different parts of the community growing up in the prison. I grew up in the prison. And it wasn't easy because everywhere we turned, we saw us. In the state of Delaware, 59% of the population in prison is black males.
When you say that, that's what you're saying. You're saying black males. Every time.
Predominantly black. Where we were, you housed 3,500 people, but 2,700 of those people are black males. You know, but I never believed that I would walk out. My most strongest support, you know, is the man upstairs. You gotta have faith. I stood on the fact that I hadn't done anything wrong. Someone would listen. Make a way. And I'm here today. Thank you.
Where there's crime, there's single parents raising their kids. At the time, there was drugs involved, selling drugs, using drugs. I was the one using drugs. At the age of 16. At the age of 18, someone put a note on the desk that said, Mr. Write your name, which occurred, a robbery and a homicide occurred at the liquor store at the Bowery. So they arrested me. During my arrest, I was intoxicated. I confessed to a crime I didn't commit. I was interrogated for 16 hours, chained to a bench, sleeping on the floor in a cold, windowless room. Officers coming in and out. Good cop, bad cop. Much of it is vague. I really didn't see the interrogation until I went to trial, which it hurt me to see myself on a video confession to a crime I didn't commit. Now, during 16 hours of the interrogation, you only see 20 minutes out of the 16 hours. So what you see is what you got. Everything that went on during that 16 hours, they won't tell you about. So when I went to trial, there was no evidence against me. Physical evidence, no eyewitnesses. Nobody linked me to the scene of the crime. They just had my false confession, which the judge stated that Mr. Wright was intoxicated. And officers, as during the interrogation, I was eating paper. Like I said, I was chained to a bench, I was on the floor. They said that was normal behavior that I was doing. So based on that false confession, I was found guilty. I was sentenced to death row. At the age of 18, I was the youngest on death row, and the longest, as they stated. I watched 16 men. Well, I didn't watch 16 men, I was there for 16 executions. Had some dates myself. What y'all don't realize is that a lot of things that happen to us as young black men, y'all would never know. Because oftentimes you close your eyes to things that happen to other people because it's not someone that you care about. And therefore, you miss the opportunity to understand a lot of injustices that happen to guys like me, to guys like him. So, my case went on for 20-something years until a judge named Judge Parker presided over my case. Judge Parker's got my case. He ruled that his words, these are not my words. He does not believe in the outcome of Mr. Wright's case. Granted me evidence right here. My attorney presented evidence in my favor, and the state was still arguing their truth with no proofs. I was released in 2015 due to Judge Parker's fresh ears and open mind to what was the truth. During that release, I was out 10 months. I thrived, got a job. It's the first time I was able to touch my family after 17 years. I did 19 years in solitary confinement. So those freedoms, being able to hug my mother, hug my family, spend time with my sons, just to walk to the refrigerator, just to go outside when I wanted to go outside, go to the bathroom when I wanted to go to the bathroom, drink a soda when I wanted to go to the store, when I wanted to drink a soda. Those freedoms was what I had, what I missed a long time. So in 2016, the Delaware Supreme Court reversed my case, sent me back to prison. And the state was again sought to send me to death row. So I sat in prison for 10 months, waiting to go to trial. After waiting, my attorneys filed motions to obtain evidence that the state said they had. There were no more evidence. In the beginning, they had photo lineups. No one, they lost that evidence. They lost every piece of evidence that they said they had. So there was no more evidence but my false confession, which the Delaware Supreme Court upheld. So mind you, after 10 months of freedom, after 10 months of being with my family, after 25 years of incarceration, there's a decision that I had to make, a decision that I didn't want to make. as an innocent man. And oftentimes, these decisions occur a lot when the state knowing that they don't have anything, but they still want to take you to trial, and they know you in a position as you just were with your family. There was outplea presented to me, which means if you take this plea, you are not admitting guilt, but you are stating that the state had enough evidence to take you to trial.
Essentially a no contest. I'm not going to fight you anymore.
Yes.
I'm not going to tax the system. Just let me go.
Right. So this is why I'm here. Now, I wanted to go to trial, but what happened the first time could have also happened the second time, because they still had that false confession. So I'm here today to let y'all know that false confession happened in Delaware also. And don't let nobody tell you that they don't, because being an innocent man and being incarcerated for that period of time is a tragedy in itself. Not just for myself, but also those who are going through it at the moment. And I think the reform, Senate Bill 30, all confessions should be taken in its entirety. That should be a law, period.
No legal statement saying that police officers have to record a confession, video or audio. So in Delaware, it is totally okay for an officer just to take a written confession. That is totally legal here in the state of Delaware. It is not required by law for there to be a recordation of any interrogation. So in Marlowe's case, there was recording, 16 hours of recording. That didn't have to happen by law.
No. It wasn't 16 hours.
Sorry, how long?
It was 16 hours of interrogation.
16 hours of interrogation, 20 minutes of recording.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though, if that 20 minutes wasn't even recorded, and all they had was a piece of paper, and we couldn't even see what was going on? We couldn't see the state of mind.
Would you mind if I bring, these are their lawyers, right? Which one is your lawyer?
Remember that big way?
Man, can you come up, please? I would love to ask you a question.
But before, let's finish with Marlowe's
Yeah,
story
yeah.
too. But just so you guys know that this is what the Senate bill that Marlowe is talking about here is going to require here in Delaware that you have to record. You have to record these interrogations. You have to record these confessions. So we're going to hear a little bit more about that from the policy director at Delaware Center for Justice a little later. But that's what he's talking about, is that we don't have to have these audio videos. So the fact that it happened 30-some years ago is miraculous in a way, because it didn't have to.
Right.
So Marla, continue with your story.
And mind you, going with the confession, none of what I said was right. And you can see from the evidence of my case, and you can look at it and you figure out yourself. None of what I said was right, but they still use it. And it was to the point that they didn't have no evidence. They went to jailhouse witnesses to testify against me, basically stating that I said to them that I committed the crime, so they can gain freedom for themselves and send me down the road. This is what happened in my case. A fiend and a jailhouse snitch in a false confession. And I spent 25 years in jail. If it wasn't for Judge Parkins, new ears, new eyes, I wouldn't be here talking to you all today. So I give I got a lot of respect to Judge Marcus for making the decisions that he made in my case and the attorneys that helped fight my case after 20-some years.
I'm going to jump forward the opposite side of that for me. In my case, they offered me a plea deal. I was in, I guess, locked up at that time in the plea deal. But they offered me a plea deal during trial. I refused. They offered me a plea deal after trial. I refused that. They came back 2 years later and offered me that same deal. I said, well, if you give me the 3 to 5, which would have put me on the street, I would have took that deal. Why? Because of background in the rap. I hadn't done anything. I'm young. I'm just 21 now. And I want my life. But something inside me knew, if you do this, this is going to follow you the rest of your life. Now, what made me so curious about why I come back 3 years later if you deem me to be the person that you said I am and done what I've done? Now, I explained to Barbie going from being accused of a crime of rape to being a pedophile, from a pedophile to a stalker, from a stalker to a menace to our society. I'm none of those things. I'm a victim of the circumstances created by the Wilmington Police Department. My family became victims. The stigma of the assassination of my character. You know, my living had no value. So we're here today to make sure that there are no more Dominion rights and no damages. And what happens too often is a deal is offered first. Meaning, if I get you to take this deal, I don't have to do what my job requires me to do as a police officer. Catch that. And because we don't have the financial resources, and she touched on it, but I'm gonna go a little further. I'm a black man. But I don't have the financial resources as my counterpart. I'm gonna have to deal with it based on what they give me. But what you're giving me is a bunch of bullshit. And now we're becoming more knowledgeable to what's going on. And we're deciding to speak about it because he and I know this experience. Now, I know there are people who are sitting in here, you have a family member, you know someone, you're talking to someone, you're affiliated with people who have people who are in prison, who may not have done anything at all, but like, it's not our problem. It is. Because I believe if you understand what's going on, you know that, for example, I was wrongfully convicted, and some people tell me, oh yeah, I remember the day I saw you stand. Well, you were part of the problem. You can take the initiative to step up and say, you know, we saw him. But the thing about it was, when they arrested me, they knew I was not the man.
Let me ask you, your attorney this. What made you take the case? How did you come about that?
I met Mr. Daniels at a party in the Spongebob Bank, and I was a guest speaker there. And after I spoke, he came up to me, and there was a look of conviction. You guys see him tonight. When he speaks with such conviction. And he told me that I'm an innocent man, and I was wrongfully incarcerated for 35 years for a crime I didn't commit. And naturally, as an attorney, you see these kind of cases come up to you every day. And he had documents with him. And what I promised him was I was going to look into it for him. And the more I looked into the evidence that he had, the more I became convinced that he was in fact innocent. And after battling this case for 2 years, we were able to prove conclusively, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Mr. Daniels is in fact an innocent man. And I want everyone to be clear on that Mr. Daniels didn't get out on a technicality. He's not someone who did something or has a stigma of, you went wrong, maybe you got out because something was wrong with the evidence. No, he is in fact an innocent man who was able to prove that he was in fact innocent.
What's your name and what law?
And what law?
Sure. My name is Emeka Igwe. I'm part of the Igwe Law Firm. Our main office is in Philadelphia. We also have an office in Delaware, and I'm part of the office in New York.
Right, that's one thing. I think I appreciate it.
Let me say something. Let me say something. See, if I sit up here, right? You see me, I'm in regular clothes, right? But if I put a badge on and say something, most of y'all probably believe what I say because I got a badge on. Now, a lot of times the badge supposed to represent protection of society. Protect all of you, all of us from society. Protect us from wrongful convictions. But in my case, these cops did not uphold the law. Rather, they broke the law. And instead of being punished for the crimes that they committed, they go on and live their lives. Now, the cop in my case, and I'm gonna say his name, Ever Mayfield, he got on the stand. He was on the stand. He was cross-examined. After my attorneys finished cross-examining this officer that everyone wants to believe, he got off the stand and asked my attorneys, should he go get an attorney? These are not my words. He asked my attorney, should he go get an attorney? Because of what he did to me after all these years. Finally, attorney was able to cross-examine and point out what that man did to me. Yet, he's still out here as a hero. And I'm still sitting before all y'all going through a lot of things, even after my conviction. Prison don't just stop. I'm still in prison. I still, not mentally, but they still got the cuffs on me as I lived and try to live in terms of jobs, in terms of moving forward. My opportunities are suppressed because of my wrongful conviction. But don't nobody want to believe me, because I ain't got that badge on my chest.
So there's a historian that looked at and studied the Central Park 5 case, which I hate using that term because these are men. These are real people. Antron McCrae, Kevin Richardson, Yusuf Salim, Raymond Santana, and Cord Wise. And what this historian Craig Stephen Wilder says, and it rings true as we sit here and listen to you guys as well, is that he says, quote, I felt ashamed, actually, for New York, and I also felt extremely angry because their innocence never got the attention their guilt did. The fear around prosecuting them still drowns out the good news of their innocence. These were 5 kids and 2 of our own here who were tormented. We falsely accused. We pillared in the press. We attacked them. We invented phrases for the imagined crimes we're accusing them of. And then we, the community, put them in jail. We falsely convicted them. And when the evidence turned out that they were innocent and they were released, we gave a modest nod to fairness and we walked away from our crime. I want us to remember what happened that day and be horrified by ourselves because it really is a mirror on our society. And rather than tying it up in a bow and thinking there was something we can take away from it and we'll be better people, I think what we really need to realize is that we are not very good people. And we're often not. I don't know if many of you would agree with his conclusion, but what he reminds us of is that we are all complicit in what the system does because the system does it on our behalf. when it says the state of Delaware versus Elmer Daniels, or the state of Delaware versus Jermaine Wright. The state of Delaware is us.
When you read that on that day, this is Kipley. Kipley is native of New York, and what I invited Kip to do is to paint a picture on that day in New York when it happened. Because a lot of us, we're from Delaware. I remember just seeing it, but I was a kid. But Kip, when he was explaining it to Barbara and myself, it took us there. So, Kip, when you were in New York growing up, what was that time like? And that river wildly going across the newspaper. What was that like?
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. One thing about that I remember like it was yesterday when I saw the movie, it was like, wow, actually one of my friends was part of the first group that was initially snatched. He wasn't part of the last 5, but he was one of the first 15 to 20. And I remember when they came to Bradton from school, and it was like, it was all known when he first went to Tulsa, and they came back and told us later. But when they came across, it was almost like a hammer. Everybody, every black household, every parent, every child was going to work, because one of the things that took us back was when they labeled it, they put it on paper, and it was like violent. And it was sad and funny to us at the same time, because the term was actually violent. Like, you know what I mean? And violent meant a number of things. They put it and placed it with violence and anger and hate, and that wasn't necessarily what the word meant. Now, with that word, you did have some people who was, who used it and was violent, punch me in the face, I was violent after that night or whatever. But the original term came from, like, if we sitting here and we busting up and we laughing, we was wild last night, we was just wild. And they didn't understand that, so they had to spell it out and make it a name, and then it became Wild Dan. And I don't know if y'all remember, really when the Urban Dictionary started to come into fruition, because they needed to feel that they knew what we were talking about, what we were saying, and it wasn't even like they incorporated the community into finding out what these words meant, was what they thought it meant and what they said it was, and they placed it and they published it, and that's what it was. But
what was it like walking as a black man, black kid on the streets of New York at that time?
Oh, it was serious, and I think that's when, I know for New York, is when we really started realizing that profiling became big, because for one, your parents was like, you cannot go to Central Park. In Central Park, if everyone knows, New York runs from like 59 to over 100. It's many blocks. So you're saying no zoo, no skating rink, no play. I played baseball all the way to college. Like, couldn't go to a game. No one was concerned about that. You could be coming from. I remember personally, just me and my buddy coming in. We had bags on our back, bags sticking out, and they pulled up on us and was like, "Where you coming from?" Like, what do you mean where you coming from? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, jump out the car. Let me see some ID. Like, it was, if he was driving, it was pulling you over. If, like, out here in Delaware, which is a lot different than New York, we didn't really drive too much young like that because of mass transit and everything we had. But the way kids drive out here, 16, 17, 18 years old, they wouldn't have made it home. Those kids not making it home because they was being snatched and getting taken to precincts. And I was in a precinct at one time for just driving with a kid that no warrants, no anything. The car, they said this car looks like a detective's type of car. It was an Oldsmobile. So they pulled him over, pulled us over, took us to the precinct, didn't call any parents, had us there. I had an old school mother, so I had a curfew. So that means I'm looking at my watch for my curfew trying to get home. And they didn't care nothing about that. It was simply like something that you really had to consciously pay attention to just leaving to go to school. Because we didn't go to school on school buses, we went to school on mass transit. So you had to get from your home to mass transit to the school. And you were stopped at times from your home to mass transit, they would get to school or back. And if you played in sports, you came home later than you did the normal school kids. So at that time, they had transit authority. They were pulling you off the trains. They were singling you out. They were saying that you look like someone. And it's very interesting because I knew I was coming on this panel. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was reminding me of when we both got pulled into a precinct and processed. No parents called, and the cop came to me and said, "So how do you like Kentucky?" I said, "I've never been to Kentucky, sir. I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "Oh, you don't like robbing banks." I said, "No, let me repeat my social security number to you, because you obviously have the wrong person." And it was, he was a Spanish guy. His name is Barry Perez. They was about to transport him to Florida because of what they thought he was, without any background checks, any. And if it wasn't for my aunt that had worked in legal aid, that I got a call to, that came by and said, "No, y'all have the wrong person," and they fingerprinted me. And they fingerprinted me. And we was concerned that my fingerprints might still be on file. They could still be on file. Don't have a crime committed, but my fingerprints could still be in the system. This was things that was going on, and it became a norm. And I don't know if y'all really remember, a lot of the things started happening after. I was in Diallo. A lot of stuff started happening that where people was just getting tormented by police, and that's where that trust factor started to really build. Where we ran before we stopped. So the first thing we did when we pulled over was we was running, and didn't know why we were running. We knew that we wasn't going to stand there and let them harass us or take us. So it was a lot that was going on around that time. I mean, parents had to call in. I had to check in all the time, just to be outside the door. Like I'm talking about maybe anywhere from a block away from where we lived. My mom wanted to constantly know where I was, and I was a single parent home. She was a nurse. She was going in the evening, going in daytime. So it was very, it was a very trying time.
And we're talking 1980s. This distrust between the police that still exists 30 years later. It still exists.
And we're not talking about New York like it is Times Square, like it is now. New York back then, you had XX, you had nasty shops. My dad used to call it like everywhere. And then you had the crack epidemic, you had drugs, you had all that. So I know it was crazy. This is a perfect time to transition into our panel, our amazing panel.
So this is something that continues, as we've heard of this, police distrust continues today.
So how do we fix it?
Wrongful convictions continue today.
Yeah.
So what do we do about it?
What do we do about it? That's the question.
So we'd like to welcome and introduce our two additional panelists today. State Prosecutor AJ Root from the District Attorney's Office, who's going to be speaking with us today about what they are doing to make sure this doesn't happen anymore, and Delaware Center for Justice's Director of Policy, Kate Parker. So we are glad that they are here to We are also glad that Senator Brown was advertised to be here with us today. Unfortunately, even though you are a senator, there are still people that will give you who can tell you what to do. So he was called into a meeting today that he was unable to get out of, and so unable to be with us, and he sends his regrets and apologies. But he is a supporter of these bills that Kate is going to be discussing with us today. And so we are grateful for his support, and he is sorry he can't be with all of us today. So we apologize for the empty chair and are grateful for Senator Brown doing his job, even late into these evening hours. So AJ, welcome, and Kate, welcome to our panel. Thank you for being with us. So AJ, the prosecutor's office here in Delaware, the district attorney's office, is often seen by the community as an adversary, when its job is really to protect the community and represent the community in court. So what exactly is your office doing and working on right now to help and make sure that wrongful convictions are not continuing to happen?
Hi, thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Specific to your question, before we get to that, you're right, our office is charged with protecting the community, with the Attorney General's office in the entire state of Delaware. Not only do we have a criminal division that works with law enforcement in terms of prosecuting and evaluating cases, but we also have a family division we have a civil division, and we have a fraud division. All of those divisions are also charged with helping all of you and members of the community in the state of Delaware. Specific to your question, the things that we are doing and have been doing to make sure that we don't have instances where we have wrongful convictions or integrity questions with respect to convictions really boils down to our process in terms of evaluating cases. So dating back to when actually Charlie Oakley was the Attorney General, there was a policy in the office that we wanted law enforcement to provide taped interrogations to us. The reason being that it's important for us to be able to evaluate someone's demeanor when they're actually interviewed, their mental state at the time, whether they're under the influence, and things like that. And going through that process, we actually formalized that process in terms of a statewide policy with the Police Chiefs Council in July 2018. It had always been a policy in our office, or at least a program at that time. We were able to work with the police chiefs and actually formalize the policy surrounding how we want custodial interrogations to look. So some of the things we touched on tonight are actually recording the entire interrogation, making sure that's provided, making sure both the suspect and the detective are in the picture at the time. And all these policies are on our website. For those who want to look at the actual details of it, you can go on our website, go under our policy section, and look those up and look at the things that we're actually doing. And you know, for us, in terms of custodial interrogation and how we're looking at making sure these things don't happen, we really have about 6 levels of review when we look at cases in the state of Delaware. So the first is when you have an initial committee magistrate who looks at whether there's probable cause to make an arrest. Then when there's an actual arrest made, that makes its way to our office, and we have a unit that's dedicated to an initial review of cases, which is the felony screening unit. When the felony screening unit gets to look at a case, they go through the case, they determine whether we actually have the facts necessary to proceed. In run-of-the-mill cases, we handle murder cases and sexual assault cases a little bit differently. But that's our initial review. Once that file is reviewed, if it's determined that there is enough information, that file gets sent to a supervisor in one of our trial units. At that point, the supervisor goes through the file and looking at things in terms of what's been provided that we'll have to turn over in discovery, facts of the case, whether there are any issues that are going to make proving the case beyond a reasonable doubt problematic for us. We try to screen those out as soon as possible. Once it goes from the supervisor, it gets assigned to a DAG, Deputy Attorney General, and then they go through the process. And all of this is, we always like to keep in mind that sometimes things change, you know, so sometimes we'll have victims that are initially cooperative in cases and not so cooperative later, but then they might change back and be cooperative again. And there's always things that are going to be able to change in cases. Then, once the case is decided from our ethical standard, which is that we have a reasonable probability of proving the case beyond a reasonable doubt, then we indict it. So it goes to a grand jury. So I misspoke, it's actually a sentence. We have a grand jury that actually looks at cases too. Once the case is indicted, we provide that information in discovery to the defense counsel. That's another level of review. And you know, this is an adversarial system. The state of Delaware, the Attorney General's office is prosecuting the case. The defense attorney is representing the individual who has been charged with that crime and have their constitutional rights and their opportunity to defend themselves in court and make the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt the elements of that particular offense. And then the end all be all in terms of review is the jury. And the jury is 12 people of your whether it actually is all be like years. But you know, you have your 12 people in there who are supposed to be objective and don't have incident knowledge about the case, that are going to look at the facts that are presented and then get a determination on whether we met our burden and met our elements. With respect to interrogation specifically, you know, the state is going to play, if someone has a confession in interrogation, defense counsel is going to pick apart things in interrogation. So if someone's under the influence, or if certain parts are cut out for redactions for, you know, a shorter presentation. So sometimes there are people that are in custody for 10 hours. Everyone sometimes agrees they don't want to play the entire thing for a jury, right? So we'll cut out certain parts of it for presentation purposes. But defense attorneys get to cross-examine the officer about what happened, what their policies are, how long that person was there for, and the jury gets to make a determination on whether what that person said is reliable at that point. That's just how it works. Our other policy that we have that I'll touch on, we have two other ones, are our eyewitness identification policy, which we also work with the police chief council on. That was really geared towards making sure when police are having eyewitness identifications that we're using reliable methods, best practices. So getting away from show-ups, which for people who don't know what show-ups are, that's basically if Kate was alleged to have done a shoplifting, and our witnesses were down there, and I grabbed Kate and brought her to the store and said, "Is this the person who shoplifted?" That's a show-up. That's pretty suggestive because I'm standing there saying that's the person, right? So what we'd like to see is actually photo lineups that are created by officers that don't have knowledge about the case. They call that blind administration. We want those types of identifications because that creates a layer of protection in terms of when that person's making the identification. There's no suggestion about who it is. They actually, there's language that we came up with that officers read when they say, there's, this person may or may not be in there. Take a look at it. If you see somebody, it's okay. If not, that's fine. And then we also typically like to see if they ask how certain you are that that person is there. And there are cases sometimes when you have identification, they say, I really think it's that person, but I'm not sure, and that's fine. That happens. Third policy that we worked on is the body-worn camera policy. Most agencies across the state are working to get body-worn cameras. Those that don't already have it. Newcastle County Police Department was the first department to jump on it. All their officers have body-worn cameras. We have found that has been a good thing for both sides, right? When you have people coming up and you're interacting and everyone knows that you're being recorded, both sides are cordial and it kept situations a little cool and sometimes de-escalate situations when people are serious. So those are things that we're doing as an office in addition to our normal course of review on cases. And, we as prosecutors, this group that we have in this office takes very seriously the ethical obligation that we have to not proceed if we don't have a reasonable probability of proving the case beyond a reasonable doubt. I take that very seriously. I started out my career as a defense attorney, not as a prosecutor. I started out representing indigent defendants to the complex counsel, represented people on death row and post-conviction, represented somebody in a capital murder trial. So I have experience on that side. I believe in the system. I believe in the Constitution. And I believe that ultimately we really have to meet that burden and step up and do that if we actually are seeking justice. And in the cases that we can't, we have to be able to also say that we can't do it, and that's justice as well. And, that's a tough part of the job for prosecutors. Sometimes we have cases where we have a victim who is grieving for, particularly in homicide cases, a family that's grieving because they've lost a loved one. And we have to have a conversation with them and sit down and say, we're really sorry for your loss. We know we can't possibly put ourselves in your shoes and what you're going through, but we can't prove your case. And we do that a lot more than what people realize. It is the worst part of this job. Meeting with the family and saying, we can't help you right now. And that's all they want at that time is to get some help.
Let me ask this question. What is it like in the AG office versus like with diversity? Because, I'm a big black guy. I can go out here and get hemmed up real quick on who I look like, just like these brothers did. What does that diversity look like in the AG? How many people in the AG office look like me? Because I think that plays a huge part also.
In the criminal division right now, I believe that we have 4 African Americans, and then I think total minorities is 5. I believe there are 5 minorities. Something we're aware of, something we're mindful of. In terms of when you talk about implicit bias, and I don't think there's implicit bias necessarily that we think something bad about someone. Right. It's more of it's who you are used to interacting with, who you gravitate towards, social norms, things you're used to, people you've interacted with. And that comes into play in, not only in terms of criminal justice and dealing with cases, but also in how you handle a human resources issue, or who you're promoting, or who you're going to mentor certain people. I will say that in the criminal division, we have a pretty tight group of people. You know, whether you're white, black, or some other nationality, we all get along really well. Do I think we could have some more diversity in the office? Yes, absolutely. And I think that helps in terms of getting a sense of sometimes. Exactly, understanding. I was going to say judgment. It's understanding. When you have conversations, you could go talk to 10 different deputies about what a resolution could be in a case. And we usually be in advance of reasonableness, right? But I did defense work.
Yeah.
So I have a different perspective in terms of what people deal with when they grow up. And I come from a family of educators, so my mom and sister have both seen, and I've seen through them the trauma that a lot of kids go through, and you can start to understand why someone might make a decision and why they might make a decision.